Hello, Viterbo classmates. My name is Ross Piersma. I am a high school social studies teacher over in Holman, Wisconsin, where I live with my wife, Jenna, and my two daughters, Thea, who is 2, and Hallie, who is 9 months old. So, needless to say, my educational journey obtaining this master's degree has been a little bit challenging, considering the needs of my young kids. Um, has required some sacrifices on the weekend, like a lot of you have also experienced. So I'm kind of looking forward to putting everything that we've learned all together in this kind of final seminar, but also walking across that graduation stage and being able to have a little more time to spend with my family. When I'm not teaching, you can typically find me doing something outdoors, such as hiking, backpacking, biking, kayaking, you name it. My wife and I chose the La Crosse area because we lived in Colorado previously, and we were just wanting to come somewhere in the Midwest that had a lot to do outdoors, but where we could still be closer to family. Um, Before I was a social studies teacher at Holman High School for these last 2 years, I started here as a social emotional learning teacher. I did that job for 1 year. I previously served as a special education teacher at an alternative school in Minnesota. My real roots in education, though, kind of stem back over a decade ago when I started as a paraprofessional in special education. I've worked with all grades, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, you name it. For a while, I took a break from education before I became a teacher. Um, you know, I'm from a family of teachers. My sister's a teacher, my mom's a teacher, my grandma was a teacher, and I'm married to a teacher. So I was a bit reluctant to choose that career path, but ultimately I kind of felt like that career path chose me. And when COVID happened in 2020, kind of opened some doors as an opportunity to kind of make a change. And I'm really glad that I did because it's an occupation that I really enjoyed so far. I really enjoy the intellectual challenge that it presents and having to constantly adapt and think harder about how I can get more out of my students and how I can challenge them to on a higher depth of knowledge, um, and how I can kind of get them to really be live, active participants in the classroom. So I'm really enjoying it. Um, as I think about our our theme of creating greater agency in ourselves and our students, one thing that comes to mind is just the context of the times that we live in today. Um, Whether it's politically, technologically, or social, things are a lot different today for kids than what they were when I was growing up. Um, they are faced with a news media and social media world that is full of false information, fake news, whatever you want to call it. And they need the skills to be able to decipher that information and really determine like what is truth. And I feel like that's something that's become harder and harder for not only students but adults to do as well. And then politically speaking, um, we have seen a lot of abrupt, major changes that go against a lot of the more norms that we've seen over the last 70 years. And I also think that's something that's kind of difficult for students to grasp and really understand what is going on, why it's going on, and how this is different from before, as well as who's being affected and how that affects them as well. So, um, as a social studies teacher, I think that there are skills that students need to learn, and they really need to be critical thinkers now more than ever, just based on the type of world that they live in, because you could arguably say that they're growing up in a much more dynamic world than we grew up, what that we grew up in when we were going through the K-12 education system. Um, with those responsibilities of our changing world, that also places a lot of agency on our teachers to adapt and make changes accordingly, right? We have to adapt to how we're going to let students use and not use AI. We have to adapt to our instruction and figure out our deficits in our students. What are they able to do? What are they not able to do? How can we change our curriculum? I'm lucky enough to be teaching at a school where I came here and a lot was established in classes that I teach. But it has definitely been a journey with my PLC teams to adapt to the modern times. And it's been a struggle to always find agreement on what's best for students. But I think we all kind of feel that sense of agency to adapt and adjust continuously. Um, Additionally, how have these books kind of affected me as I'm preparing for our seminar? Um, One thing that's kind of highlighted for me is really taking a lot of me kind of the last couple of years I've got my foundation as a teacher in social studies, but really now trying to focus more on a student-centered approach, which was a theme that I kind of resonated with me in Palmer's book of Courage to Teach. But really, all of these books kind of highlight the importance of really reaching individuals, getting them past their fears, making them feel worthy, and getting them to really participate and grow in meaningful ways. Um, with that being said, I'm really looking forward to the seminar and kind of tying all of our learning together, and walking across this stage with other people in this group and in this class. And I look forward to meeting some of you in a few weeks. Thanks for watching my video.